Hey everybody, it's John with Vermont Homesteader. We're out here in the garden again today, and we had some pretty good storms the other day. Some high wind, some heavy rain, which was really good for the garden, the rain, but the wind was bad for it in some respects. But we didn't have a lot of storm damage, so we got really blessed to keep everything together here and to not have our crops destroyed. But we had a little corn damage. I fixed some of it yesterday. I'm going to fix some more today. Usually the corn with the high wind, it just gets blown over almost sideways, sometimes laying down on the ground. But it usually doesn't break the stalk, so you can save the corn. I'll show you a little bit of that. I fixed most of it yesterday, but I'll fix a few today. And then the tomatoes were just getting tall anyway and ready to be staked, but with the wind it knocked them over. And we're going to be staking tomatoes, and then I'm going to be picking some peas and some tomatoes out here today. So hopefully you can see it, but what happens is the stalks, they bend over, and these two are not standing up straight, and so I just pick a couple weeds out of here, and then you kind of loosen up the dirt and you just push it up against the base of the corn stalk. Send them straight back up. You just want to straighten them up. They usually straighten up on their own, but I like to help them. The sun pulls them upwards, back upwards, but if I can help them a little bit, it gives them a head start. There was about 12 of them that got leaned over by the wind. And like I said, I fixed most of them yesterday, but I left a few so I could do a video and show you today. That's how you fix your corn. As long as it's not snapped off, it'll survive. It'll give you corn, and it's pretty easy to fix the problem. As for the tomatoes, if you look, I zoomed in on some. They're just laying on the ground there. They were probably about 3 feet tall when the storm came through. And those tomatoes, there's probably 6 or 7 of them down the row that are now laying on the ground. And wet tomatoes sitting in the dirt and mud, that's bad. You'll get blight. It'll destroy your tomatoes. So we want to get them standing up and want them nice and upright. So we're going to stake those today. To do that, just need a couple things. I like to use these fiberglass fence posts, basically. Use them to do electric fence. A pair of gloves. You got to wear gloves when you do fiberglass, or you'll get fiberglass fibers in your skin, and they're not a lot of fun. A little hammer and some string, and that'll get us going. And I'll show you how I do this. This is also not complicated. There's not a lot to it. So I'll get started with that right now. These are all tomatoes that I grew from seed, and they're not quite caught up to the tomatoes I bought from the store, the tomatoes that I got from Hillside Botanicals down the road. They are already producing tomatoes, and the tomatoes are reddening. So I'm going to harvest some of those tomatoes today, actually. So they didn't catch up to it, but they're doing really good. There's flowers on all these tomato plants, and they're going to be producing some tomatoes here real quick. So I'll have some early season tomatoes and then some later season tomatoes this year, which is good because then everything doesn't come at once. When it comes at once, it can be kind of overwhelming. So you just take some of this string, cut it about 6 inches long. Just want to get a fiberglass post, one per plant. You want to put it in near the base, not right up against the plant, but you know, pretty close. Tap it in probably 8-9 inches so it'll be sturdy, and when the next wind comes it'll hold the plant up. And then I usually just take one towards the base, just wrap it around, tie it off. And there's lots of things people do. Some people use tomato cages. I personally don't like tomato cages. They break a lot. They don't go in the ground the easiest. I like to use my pea fencing. It's just a straight fence, which all these Hillside Botanical tomato plants are in what I call pea fence. Then you go about halfway up the plant. Just tie another string. Not too tight, you want to leave room for it to grow. And then I'll completely straighten it out. I'll get closer to the top, not right at the top, but, and this is really where you want to leave it somewhat loose, because it's going to grow taller and wider. So you don't want to suck these up right to the fiberglass pole. You want to leave them room to grow, but you also want them to be straight up, or as straight up as you can get them, because they're going to get big and they're going to get heavy with tomatoes on them. We just keep going down the row until we get all the ones that have fallen down standing up. Go. And we're just going to keep doing this all the way down the row until they're all standing up pretty straight. And I'll come back when I start harvesting tomatoes and peas. So I got all my my stakes in all the way down wherever I need to stake up a tomato. And I mentioned getting string to tie them up, and I just wanted to say you need to get a biodegradable string, something that will rot into the ground and become part of the earth again. Something like a hemp string, or I don't even know what else, but make sure it's biodegradable. Don't get like nylon. Otherwise, you're going to end up with nylon strings all throughout your garden that you're going to find year after year after year when you till up your garden. So make sure it's a biodegradable. Everything I use out here, I mean, obviously the synthetic posts are not biodegradable, but I use them year after year after year. And yeah, sadly, you got to throw them out just like you would the metal that I also use. But things like string, I mean, tomato plants, usually at the end of the season, you're just pulling the stakes out of the ground, the tomatoes are gone, the tomato plants are dead, and I let it just rot into the ground, and you till it all under again, and it basically becomes compost for your garden in the future. So you want strings that will degrade just like the plant material degrades. So make sure you use the right type of string. String at the base, and you look for the bend in the plants. You want to get it right above. Probably want to get one right at the bend, and then one right above the bend. Basically just trying to give them some support against this post. So they'll stand up nice and straight. Just keeps them out of the wet and the mud. And also helps the bees find the flowers better. That's all you do. And then work your way down the row. Just don't make the string too tight. I mean, you obviously got to cinch them up a little, but always leave some room for the plant to grow. And always support the bend in the plant, because that's where it's going to break, is where it has a bend in it. I usually leave, it depends on how many plants you have in it, but a good inch circle, so the plant has room to grow. And it gets hard to separate them when there's a whole bunch of them. And these ones I grew from seed, there's a whole bunch of them in here. It's probably too many. I probably should have thinned them out a little bit. But it's cherry tomatoes, not beefsteaks, and the cherries tend to take a little more abuse as far as I'm concerned. I don't even grow beefsteaks anymore. I got so frustrated with beefsteaks, and you'd get these huge green tomatoes, and then the blight would take the whole plant, and you'd lose everything. So, cherry tomatoes will have to do. You just got to grow more of them to get the same quantity of tomato. And we use it mostly for salsa and pasta sauce. So it really doesn't matter how big the tomatoes are for that. Of course, I'm straddling my peppers here, trying not to squish them as I keep a foot on each piece of plastic between the rows. So as you can see, all these tomatoes are staked up now. They're all standing pretty straight. None of them are leaning over onto the plastic anymore. And there's probably about half of them that I didn't have to stake yet, so they're only 24 to 30 inches tall, and they haven't bent over yet. So I'll be out here staking them up some more, like this group right here. They're probably 24 inches. There's some smaller ones at the end. And when they get tall enough and they start to get too heavy to support themselves, here's another group of them, about 5 or 6 of them. They have flowers on them. Once they start to grow some tomatoes, they'll get too heavy, and I'll be back out here staking up some more. I really need to buy more of this, what I call pea fencing. So these are the ones I bought, and then you can see they're all in that fencing. And I haven't had to tie them very much because the fence is supporting them. I kind of wind them through the fence. As you can see, there's one right here though that's not needs to go through the fence. Needs to go through the fence one more time. But I don't know that I dare at this point because there's already tomatoes on them, and I don't want to break that branch. So I'll probably just get some string and tie those up. These two right here, get them a little closer to the fence. They even have tomatoes way up here. There's some red ones probably pick that one red one. A whole bunch of them coming. You can see them all in there. Nice cherry tomatoes. There's another red one over here. And that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to tie these 2 or 3. There might be a couple over there too I got to tie up. Tie them up, and then it's going to be off to picking tomatoes and picking peas. Well, it's starting to rain on us a little bit out here, but that's okay. Everything's staked up, and I'm going to pick a few tomatoes. Just a few. There's not too many that are ready yet. Just want to gently pluck them off because there's a whole bunch more tomatoes sitting on these vines. We got jalapeno peppers coming. I think there's a pepper over here I need to pick. 2 peppers I'll pick. We're going to be making salsa this weekend. I'm going to do a how-to video on that as well. You can twist them off. You can pinch them. There's some tomato over here that we can get. A couple over here. I guess I'll leave that one. This one here I'll take. I think I got all the peppers that I want to take right now. Yep. Got the tomatoes I want to take. And we are off to peas. Peas. Picking peas. There's not much to this. You just pinch it off at the top. Got your pea pod. Just look for the ones that you can feel peas in them. They're also bigger. These small ones, these thin ones, you just leave them and they will keep growing. I mean, you could eat it right off the vine if you like, and they're tasty. But the big ones have the actual peas in them. And my hand's full, so I gotta go dump these. Fresh peas. And if you're new to gardening, I'll show you this. You just split them open, and the peas are on the inside. Right there. A lot of times we just cut off the ends and just slice up, not slice up, like chunk up the pea pod. And we'll freeze them or dehydrate them just like that. And they're really good because the pod itself is sweet as well, unless you let them get really out of control. If they get really big or discolored like this one, then the pea pod is probably not that great. But before it gets that yellowish discoloration, so it looks like this one, those pea pods are really yummy.